My dear friends, anger is one of the most familiar emotions in human life. It arises quickly, speaks loudly, and often feels justified. In today's world, anger is everywhere, on social media, in politics, in relationships, even within ourselves. Many people believe anger gives strength, clarity, or power. But the Buddha saw anger very differently. The Buddha described anger not as strength, but as a form of inner burning. He compared it to holding a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. The one who gets burned first is the one holding the coal. This is not poetry. It is psychological truth. Anger always harms the mind that hosts it before it ever affects anyone else. The Buddha taught that anger is rooted in ignorance. It arises when reality does not match our expectations. Something happens that we do not like, cannot control, or feel threatened by. The mind reacts by tightening, resisting, and striking back internally. This reaction feels powerful, but it is actually a loss of clarity. When anger arises, the mind becomes narrow. Wisdom disappears. Compassion collapses. Judgment becomes distorted. This is why the Buddha said that anger destroys merit, clouds judgment, and leads to unwholesome speech and action. A moment of anger can undo years of goodwill. In modern life, anger is often normalized. People say anger is healthy, that it must be expressed, that suppressing it is dangerous. The Buddha did not teach suppression. He taught understanding. There is a crucial difference. Suppression pushes anger down without seeing it. Understanding looks directly at anger and removes its fuel. The Buddha observed that anger does not arise without causes. It depends on conditions. These conditions include attachment to views, attachment to identity, attachment to outcomes, and attachment to the idea of me and mine. When someone insults us, anger arises because the self feels threatened. When plans fail, anger arises because control is lost. When expectations are unmet, anger arises because craving is frustrated. The external event is not the true cause. The internal clinging is. The Buddha taught that responding to anger with anger is like answering fire with fire. Nothing is resolved. The fire only spreads. He said that hatred is never ended by hatred, but only by non-hatred. This is not moral idealism. It is a law of the mind. Anger feeds on resistance. It weakens when met with awareness. The Buddha advised his disciples to observe anger as a mental state, not as an identity. He did not say, "You are angry." He taught, "There is anger present." This shift is subtle but powerful. It creates space between awareness and reaction. When anger is seen clearly, it loses authority. When it is believed, it controls behavior. The Buddha also emphasized patience as the direct antidote to anger. Patience is not weakness. It is strength without aggression. It is the ability to remain steady when conditions are unpleasant. In one teaching, the Buddha said that even if bandits were to cut one limb from limb, one who gives rise to hatred would not be following his teaching. This statement is extreme, not because it is expected of ordinary people, but because it reveals the depth of freedom the Buddha pointed toward. True freedom is not dependent on external behavior. It is internal unshakability. The Buddha understood something modern psychology now confirms. Anger feels relieving in the moment, but it reinforces the habit of reactivity. Each time anger is indulged, the mind becomes more easily angered in the future. It becomes a conditioned response. This is why anger feels automatic. It has been practiced. The Buddha's path is a retraining of the mind. He taught loving kindness as a direct counter to anger, not as forced positivity but as intentional cultivation. When the mind is trained to wish well-being, anger has less ground to stand on. This does not mean tolerating injustice or remaining passive. The Buddha never taught passivity. He taught clarity without hatred, action without hostility, firmness without ill will. A mind free from anger sees situations more accurately. It responds effectively instead of reactively. It knows when to speak and when to remain silent. The Buddha also warned of the long-term consequences of anger. He said an angry person sleeps badly, looks unattractive, loses friends, and destroys their own welfare, even if they believe they are winning an argument or defending themselves. Anger promises protection but delivers harm. When anger is understood, something shifts. The mind begins to see it as a conditioned phenomenon that arises and passes away. It is no longer obeyed automatically. Space appears. Choice appears. This is liberation in daily life. The Buddha did not ask us to become emotionless. He asked us to become free. Free from being driven by states that bring suffering to ourselves and others. Anger fades not by force but by wisdom, not by denial but by understanding, not by blame but by clarity. In a world that rewards outrage and glorifies reaction, the Buddha's teaching offers a radical alternative: inner mastery. To see anger clearly is to weaken it. To understand it deeply is to outgrow it. This is what the Buddha said about anger, not as a rule, not as a command, but as an invitation to freedom. May this understanding bring calm. May it reduce harm. May it lead toward peace. Namo Buddhaya.